Meeting of August 14th. Just real quick, we do record our meetings and put them on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel. So, if everybody is okay with that. And it's also for people if they prefer to go and watch it afterwards. If they missed the meeting or they want to go and catch up on something later, that they're able to do that. So I'm going to hand it over to Elliot for a minute. He's going to talk a little bit about what's going to happen in the meeting and what we do and the questions and how to raise your hand and do all of that. My name is Margaret. I'm the chair of the Whitaker Community Council, and this is Elliot. He's the vice chair, and he is in charge of our running our computer and doing all of that.
Cool. Hi, everyone. I'm Elliot Bald. I'm the vice chair of the board of the WCC. I'll be running the digital side of this. So the main focus is the in-person meeting, but anyone here digitally, if you want to speak, just raise your hand and I'll call you and bring you into the conversation. You can also chat. I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you have any comments, I'll monitor that and see if we need to talk about it in the meeting, bring it up in between one of our agenda sections. So that's how that'll run. Yeah.
Fantastic. So there is little tools down there to raise your hand, correct? At the bottom of the screen?
Yeah, it's on the right. So the Whitaker Watch has just raised his hand. Travis, I think that's you. Was that just for example, or would you like to speak?
Travis? Thea, can you raise your hand? Fantastic. Thank you very much.
And I would like to speak when Travis is done. He'll get his mic, I'm gonna guess.
So,
I don't know what happened. The microphone gets turned off every time. Can you hear me? Am I on?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
So can we put the chat on the side of the screen?
Yeah. So we have a few people. So I'll let Margaret start public comments, but we have a few people that would like to speak. I'll just go in order. So I have Travis, Thea, and what is your name?
Barbara.
Barbara. So Barbara, you're third. Perfect. And Steen, fourth. Perfect. So
I'm sorry. I thought that was public comment.
Oh no, sorry. I was just explaining the rules. I'm gonna let Margaret.
Yeah, so here's how this is gonna work. And what we're gonna do is that you all can see the chat from your screen, I would assume. And anyone in the room that wants to speak, if you can raise your hand as well. And then what will happen is that Elliot will put your name in the chat and we will call on people as your name comes up. So that's what we do with the first 10 minutes is we make public comment. And, we really want to talk about Elliot and I had a great meeting before this, and we talked about how our community has been going in lots of different directions and doing a lot of different things. So we really want to hear from people and what you think and where you see it going. Okay? And please try to keep, how many people do we have in the comments so far?
6.
Okay, so let's try to keep it down to a minute or two if we can. That would be great. So let's go ahead and.
Can I make a request, please? I have my hand up for a meeting clarification.
Yeah, sure.
Could you please read out the chat? Because I can't see it very well from here.
Sure. I'll monitor.
So I figured you would, but I just wanted to make sure that.
Cool. Anything that the group should know, I'll interrupt.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah.
It is kind of,
I can't see it.
That's okay.
no, that's all right. So, why don't you go ahead, Elliot, and call the first person?
Yeah. So Travis, I have you first.
Hi. Can I talk?
Yeah, you're good.
Please.
Okay. So I just wanted to say that I actually enjoyed attending that health and safety committee meeting last night. I found it very informative. I think there's some exciting actions that are being taken towards the neighborhood disaster resiliency, which I wasn't aware of. I think that's great. Congratulations to everybody that worked on that. Whoever spearheaded it and whoever wrote it, for those grants. They looked like sounded like they were pretty healthy grants. So congratulations. And I was excited to hear about that large grant that's intended to help the folks that make less than 80% of our area median income. And I believe that's going to help a lot of people in our community afford to put in some much needed efficiency upgrades into their homes. So thank you for securing that. That's kind of an amazing feat, I would say. I wanted to also thank Thea for her presentation last night, and also everything she does to advocate for our neighborhood constantly, all of our livability concerns, and she does an outstanding job as a Parks and Open Space liaison. That being said, I've been really concerned, and a lot of neighbors have been really concerned about the Washington Jefferson Park and the state it's in. It's in dire need of direct WCC advocacy and support. Our park is not getting watered. The entire center of it's dead. And most days and nights, really, it's being overrun by large groups of people that are engaging in very non-park like activities, like chopping up bikes, openly using drugs. They're trashing the area that's been previously renovated. It doesn't just break my heart, it pisses me off. I think that it's a tremendous waste of resources from the city to put in all that money only to see the grass getting polluted, because believe it or not, all the drugs they're doing is polluting our soil, and make it unusable by other constituents in the city. So I'm going to wrap this up. The city is losing operational control as far as I'm concerned. The surrounding neighbors are having serious livability concerns. The WCC is primarily a neighborhood advocacy group, and I believe the top of the list of responsibility is to listen to our concerns, to formulate an opinion that can be brought to the city or to the county or to the state or even to the media, especially regarding safety concerns.
Thank you, Travis.
Yeah, thank you. And Travis, Thea's gonna talk about that a little bit.
Okay, I've got 2 sentences. I got
the queue next.
I got two quick sentences. The WCC is political by nature. I believe there's some confusion around this. We need the WCC to take political stands from time to time, and now's one of them. There is a difference between being partisan and being political. The WCC is non-partisan, but it is political. So let's get it going.
Thank you, Travis. Thea, Travis was about 3 minutes. Can you also stick to that time frame as well to make it fair? All you.
I can do less than that. So I'm giving an update on our parks and open space, and I am the safety liaison with EPD and talking with businesses. The parks are having great difficulty right now. Employees can't go in and clean up. They're afraid, they're being threatened. They've asked for us to talk about it. They've asked the board to come up with a plan. I have asked parks for a stance, basically. They've asked the board to come up with a stance. How does the neighborhood feel? Is that my microphone or yours, Elliot? Because I'm getting a lot of feedback.
I can mute if that's helpful.
Okay, that helped. Oh, great, thanks. Oh, that stopped it, thanks. So what's happening is our unhoused regular neighbors and our by the bad behavior elements that are hanging out in the park right now. And I have asked parks to start watering. I said, you're not watering. They weren't watering Maury Jacobs as well. They weren't watering Scoburg Gardens. Scoburg's back on. Part of Maury Jacobs is back on. We have nighttime security that's coming through and reminding people when parks are closed and reminding people of what behaviors are acceptable in the park, but it is overrun. We did almost lose Bruns 2 weeks ago. They almost closed their doors because they've had so many employees and owners assaulted by individuals. It's over the top right now in our neighborhood. Our compassion is beyond fatigue. I'm exhausted. I'm to the point of tears. My husband asked me, that's how bad it's gotten. And I was like crying on the porch saying, I love my house. I love my neighborhood. So I'm really asking the board if they could look at this on one of their next board meetings. I am talking to city officials every single day, parks. I've talked to the homeless advocates. I've talked to Matt Rodriguez. He is now in charge of that. I will be talking with Reagan Watches, who is also in charge. But we need to be able to make our parks usable for everyone. And we need to make our unhoused neighbors that are normally in our neighborhood feel safe again. A lot of them are leaving our neighborhood because they don't feel safe. So I am meeting with Chief Skinner on Friday. If there's something discussed, they can send it to Margaret at WCC and she can forward it on to me. We do have our park ambassadors. And does anyone have any questions for me before I go off, Elliot? That's over there.
Does anyone have any questions for Thea regarding, she is our Parks and Safety Liaison for the city of
Is it
Eugene.
okay if I continue the public comment queue and then maybe?
Yeah, just
On that thought, could you add me as number
Yes,
7? I just have
absolutely.
one
Sounds
brief
good.
sentence.
okay,
So
fantastic. So I believe that we have Beth, who is next.
you're welcome to stand wherever, just.
Hi,
have the
Beth.
Microphone there.
How are you?
Introduce yourself.
Please.
Hey, I'm loud. I could be loud.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm Barbara Stebbins. This is my husband, Larry Kelp. We moved up to Whitaker about 3 years ago. We love this community. We love our neighbors and we love Scobert Park. And I'm mostly here to just really comment on how important I think it is to keep the park a friendly, open place for everybody to enjoy. And I will say recently, the music in the park events have just been wonderful to watch. You know, they're not fancy. We didn't need a slab of cement in order to have people perform on a nice little rug that got rolled out. And we didn't need a fencing off the entry to the park, which to me, I don't know, haven't observed any other parks in Eugene that are fenced off like that. That I think a fence says, don't enter, do not enter. That's what a fence is for. It's to keep people out and to keep animals out. To have a fence along the back, that's okay. You're already in the park if you come into the park. So I don't mind that fence, and I understand it's important for the neighbors on Fifth, but I just feel really strongly that what the park needs is it needs more trees, it needs more plants, it needs more people having a good time in it, like we've seen recently with a couple of events. Oh, the Sunday market, you know, it expands into the park and people are in there sitting, enjoying the music and doing stuff like that. And I'm just happy to be here and I hope that will continue to flourish that way.
Thank you. We're happy to have you, Barb. Thanks for coming.
So next I have Steve, who's also here in person.
Hi, my name is Steen and I've lived in Whitaker since 1988. More than 30 years adjacent to Scobert Park, which I love. And I really want to strongly encourage the board to take a stand against this city design because I really feel it will wreck our this one little piece of green that is the only piece of green for a half mile. It's also been a very undemocratic process that the city has done. They've had misleading renderings. I don't know how many people have looked at the survey results that the city did.
Which one's the most recent?
The results, the summaries from the first 2 surveys. If you've taken a look at those, you know that the city is actually ignoring what they learned in those surveys because people wanted grass and trees and concrete was way at the bottom. We got more designs for concrete. If the concrete goes in, we're going to lose those street trees.
So just so that you guys know and so that everyone knows, it doesn't always seem like we hear, but we do. So I've already reached out to the city and requested that before we have our meeting on the 21st, that we get the real results of what happened during the tour. I know that you all were out of town and that you had pressing business that you had to take care of, unfortunately. But basically you walked around, there was a little QR code, you hit the QR code, and then you put in your, you said what you thought, and that was it. There was no meeting, no nothing. But I have asked and requested for those results so that as a board, we can look at those, talk about them, and see exactly where it stands at the moment. Because it's an ever-changing thing.
Steve, you still have a minute.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just wanted you to know that.
I guess what hasn't changed is concrete. It's what we've gotten from the beginning. We started with 2 alternate supposedly plans of concrete. The city was offered the drawing I brought to the meeting on September 19th last year. Never went in the mix to even get comment. And the whole fence and locked gates got added without ever being in a survey. So really, if we want to support a democratic process, this isn't it. It's not happening. So I hope that the board will take that into account as well. I know there are neighbors on Fifth Street who feel like they got lied to about where the buffer fence ended up in this last design. I spoke to some neighbors that we've known since 1990 that were very upset and had called Ms. Proudfoot and talked to her and said, this is not what you told us. And we're basically told, oh no, this is what it is. So I feel like if we don't want to be told what we're going to get for a park, if we want to be planning these events outdoors and have this green space, we need to figure out what we want it to be. And I strongly urge the board to take a position against this design of concrete and events.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'm going to extend a little bit further into our agenda. I'm happy to give up my 10 minutes. I'm gonna let Gail and Janet speak, and then we'll wrap up public comments and community.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thank you. Elliot.
Okay, all right, go for it, Gail.
Thank
You
you
have the
very
floor.
much. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear us is the question. Is this a better venue for you to hear us?
Yes, I can hear better. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I have a prepared statement that I'd like to read. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I'd like to echo what some of the speakers before me have said by reading from the current WCC charter the stated purpose of this organization. Quote, the Whitaker Community Council has been formed to help resolve the concerns of the people in the neighborhoods of the Whitaker community. These concerns include, but are not limited to, land use and planning, social, recreational, educational, economic development, and transportation needs, and to promote a sense of community cohesiveness and self-reliance. The status of our most central neighborhood park, Scoburg Gardens Park, falls squarely within the stated responsibility of the WCC to, quote, help resolve the concerns, unquote, of the neighborhood. However, the WCC has chosen not to take a position on Eugene Parks and Open Spaces' plan to gate and pave our park thus far. Although the WCC has helped to spread the word on behalf of Parks and Open Spaces, it has not chosen to include the park on its agenda tonight, despite a request from a member of the board to do so. The WCC has chosen not to engage with Parks and Open Spaces to address the concerns of neighbors around increasing concrete and removing trees in the hottest part of our neighborhood. Owen's Rose Garden is also in the Whitaker. It has comfortable benches in the shade, a permanent bathroom, and features gardens maintained by volunteers. That park somehow exists without police presence, tall barred fences, or locked gates. It is filled with neighbors and guests, both housed and unhoused, enjoying the beauty of the park. There is no reason that we can't expect that same level of investment and return for Scoburg Gardens Park. As a resident of the Whitaker neighborhood, as a former Whitaker Community Council board member, and basically as a person who loves parks, I have an expectation that the Whitaker Community Council will advocate on my and others' behalf to ensure that we receive the very best redesign of our park that can be made, with every amenity included that has been given to other parks, beautiful green design elements, and bathroom services that can improve and elevate our neighborhood. Please, I implore you, speak on behalf of the trees, speak on behalf of the neighborhood, take a stand on behalf of us all, and finally, allow Scobert Gardens Park to live up to the promise of its name. Whitaker Community Council, this is your responsibility, and I expect you to fulfill it. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail.
Thank you, Gail. Heard loud and clear.
Janet?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, well, I live right by the Owen Rose Garden, and they have a pole gate that they close at 11 p.m. every night. So the statement about that they don't have fences, in part they do. The pole gate keeps the overnighters there and the damages. I've talked to the park people there several times. Those bathrooms have been torn up so bad that they've had to close them down for weeks on end. My opposition, I'm all for the trees. I love trees. I think they're important. There's an investment involved by taxpayers to keep them up. I've noticed some street people tear them off viciously, and I remind them that that's a living thing, and not to do that. But I'd like to ask Dean, you mentioned not cement. I'm okay with that, but about 8 months out of the year, it's wet and muddy, especially in a small park. Wood chips to keep the mud and the messiness of our rainy season down. How would you see that being addressed, if you have any thoughts on that? I'd like to see that presented in that light, because we do have a rainy season, and that's why clearly they go to cement. But if
So,
they could,
Janet, this is more of a public comment.
so
to the voice.
simply, my
We're
last
trying to
statement,
voice.
last
Oh,
one,
yeah.
last one, I promise, is I think, why have they not entertained the thought of closing sun up to sundown? Because it seems to be that the criminality comes out when.
So Janet,
sun-
you're asking questions that we don't really have the
Yeah,
answer
well,
to.
it's rhetorically asked questions,
Okay.
and I close.
And we will have some answers at the board
Yes.
meeting,
And
because
I
I
close.
have reached out. I have made contact with Parks and Rec. I have had conversations, and we will have some actual facts about what's happening, not only in Scobert, but also in Washington Jefferson Park.
And I endorse
And
Gail's thought,
just
yeah.
so that you all know, I mean, Thea and I today had a meeting at lunchtime with somebody regarding the Washington Jefferson Park that also needs a little assistance in what's happening there. And so, you know, we just want to make sure that we have all the facts in order. We need to know, you know, what we're talking about as a board before we make any choices or decisions. So I do appreciate everyone's point of view. That's what this is all about. And thank you all for sharing very much. I think everybody was heard very well. Okay, all right, so we do have some exciting announcements tonight, although Travis almost blew it a little bit, but there are some exciting things happening, as well as lots of growth and change. But first, what I would like to do is introduce Cindy Kohler. For those of you that don't know, she is our neighborhood liaison with the city of Eugene. And she is our ticket. She talks to the city for us as well. So I'm going to give her the
Voting.
floor.
And I can shorten the length of time to allow for your speakers to continue. So first I want to say thank you all for inviting me to your meeting. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor to be here serving the neighborhood associations. I'm Cindy Kohler. I work for the city of Eugene in the Office of Equity and Community Engagement. I've been with the city for 27 years now, and with the neighborhoods program for 20 of those years, maybe a little bit more than 20 years. So I've been around for a little bit. Eugene has 23 formally recognized neighborhood associations. 21 of them are residential, 2 of them are largely industrial. So they receive a different sort of support from the city because there's no residential addresses, and businesses have lots of venues to band together, the Chamber of Commerce or business groups. And we really wanted to see, the city really wanted to see the community members come together and be formally recognized. So that's in part why we have our formally recognized neighborhood associations. And that actually stems back to the mid-70s with one of the first neighborhood organization recognition policies. We call it NORP for short. So the neighborhood organization recognition policy was approved by mayor and council mid-70s, and it formally recognized some of the existing neighborhoods, of which Whitaker Community Council was already a formed neighborhood association. So congratulations for 50 years of serving your community. I think that's fabulous. I mean, it really is. That's fabulous. So, yeah. Neighborhood associations are an integral part of the City of Eugene's community engagement plan. And they have a direct role in the city's strategic plan. I'm going to read this for you. The city's strategic plan is the planning document that guides the organization and how we do our work. And that's a plan that was designed by city executive leadership with the mayor and council, and mayor and council have approved this strategic plan. And that strategic plan includes 4 key focus areas, and neighborhood associations are directly tied to 3 of those key focus areas. So one of the focus areas in the strategic plan is meeting urgent community needs. Neighborhood associations are incredibly responsive to urgent community needs, and Whitaker has demonstrated that over and over and over. Think back to COVID. Which neighborhood association was first in the queue to offer vaccination clinics, testing clinics, to help those who were in danger of being evicted from their home because nobody could work and nobody could pay rent? It was the Whitaker Community Council. So responding to urgent community needs, Whitaker is right there, ready to go, ready to take on the charge. And for that, you should all be very proud of your achievements that you do. The next focus area is creating a culture of belonging. So one of the key areas for the city of Eugene and for mayor and council is taking a look at Eugene and making sure that every person in Eugene has the right to participate, to be heard, and to be included. And more than that, to actually feel like they belong in our community. So that is a key element. Every single city staff person has gone through the training. It's a 4-part training for creating a culture of belonging within the organization and outside in our community. And we've taken some of this training to some of our neighborhood groups as well, some of our neighborhood associations as well. We have specific training for creating a culture of belonging for neighborhood associations. And, again, Whitaker is, front and center, top of the line, for being inclusive with our community. So for that, I think. The third key area in the strategic plan is communication and outreach, which again, neighborhood associations with social media, with your email distribution lists, with your newsletter publications, your general membership meetings where everybody is invited to come and participate. Communications outreach is a key component of some of the work that we do. Our goal is, as we move through our different planning processes, and every department at the organization has a planning process that they're either legally charged to go through the state of Oregon or a policy directive from mayor and council for the county to. Working with the neighborhood associations to ensure that those.
Apologies, your voice is mixing in with the AC. Do you want to move the podium slightly closer so you have a more commanding?
Or you could speak up, because I know you can talk about
Whichever you want. But I think
that better?
Yeah, they're both probably coming from the same area.
Probably so. Is that better?
I think it's better.
Y'all online? Can you hear me better? I can't, I can yell. No.
You're good. Continue on.
Okay.
That's been our conversation.
Thank you. So communications and outreach is, again, it ties into the culture of belonging and responding to urgent community needs. We, city, the organization, our office relies upon the neighborhood associations to help us connect with the community. There simply aren't enough city staff to reach out to every single person in our community and share information on programs, on policies, on processes that are underway. So we rely heavily on the neighborhood associations to provide that information out to the community, and equally important, capture information from the community and share that back with the city to help inform us on the work that we do. Incredibly important. I wanted to go into a little bit of the wonky talk, if that's okay. This is how important neighborhood associations are. There is actually a council resolution crafted to support the neighborhood associations or neighborhood organizations. And I wanted to read part of that to you. It's Resolution 5408, which replaces one of the resolutions from back in the 70s. We wanted to make it a little more relevant and updated. So the more recent resolution 5408 reads, local government has a responsibility to encourage community engagement, including community engagement in the planning process, both for the betterment of local decision-making and to satisfy requirements of state and federal planning programs. The City of Eugene recognizes that community engagement through neighborhood associations can produce benefits for the inclusion, general health, welfare, and pride of everyone in our community. That's just a snippet from that resolution. And then we have the neighborhood organization recognition policy, which dives a little bit deeper into the roles of neighborhoods and the roles that the cities, and the role that the city has to support the neighborhood associations. So the NORP, the neighborhood organization recognition policy, reads, neighborhood associations are advisory to the Eugene City Council and other city boards and commissions on matters affecting their area. Those matters can include land use, zoning, parks, open space and recreation, annexation, housing, community facilities, transportation and traffic, public safety, sanitation, and other activities and public services which affect their neighborhoods. So you're different from boards and commissions. Really, neighborhood associations are the advocates for the community and help inform boards and commissions on the work that they do and the city on the work that we do. So the relationship between the city and the neighborhoods is deeply rooted in a collaborative approach. The organization, our office, we need the neighborhood associations, and we support those neighborhood associations in doing their work. Some of the great things that the Whitaker Community Council has done, aside from, Thea, is Thea still there? I think Thea is still there. Do I see her?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because Thea and I talked about this. So one of the things that the city supports is the printed communications from the neighborhood association. And this one, and forgive me, I look at 2000 and think that was just a few years ago. I still can't reconcile that the year 2000 was 24 years ago. It's just mind-boggling to me. You were 3?
I was 3.
Oh.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, okay. I'm suffering from the OLDs now. Okay. So this is, Thea and I were talking about this. Actually, Margaret and I were talking about one of the older publications from the Whitaker Community Council. It was called The Front Porch News, written in newsletter. And it used to be that the city printed all of the newsletters for the neighborhood association. We had an internal print shop, so all the newsletters came to our office. This is before my time, just throwing that out there. The neighborhood association would send their newsletters and their postcards to our office, and we had staff that would read every single article for dates, times, places, phone numbers, punctuation. We had one of the ladies that was there was really big in punctuation, and we would send that information back for corrections, and then we would take the final piece and send it off to the print shop. So we had our own internal print shop that didn't do newsprint, so this went to a different shop, but we would send that off to the printers, and then we would pay for the printer. Now the process is the city has removed themselves from the publisher role. So the neighborhoods produce their publications, they send it off to the printer, and then we pay for it out of our program funds to help support the neighborhoods. So this is before that time when we just reviewed the content. So this, technically this newsletter has been reviewed and vetted, and somehow, and I know the staff who was here at the time, allowed some rather risque artwork to go through. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Rather risque. And I wanted to share this. I'm hopeful that Whitaker will have an office someday where you can proudly display your newsletters, including the one with the risque artwork in it.
Let's see it. No, Kurt, come on, you have to show it to us.
It's this piece right here. Can everybody see it? No, everybody cannot see it. So I'm going to encourage everybody who's online to make it a point to come to one of the future meetings and take a look at the artwork. This was a mural. It's my understanding this was back in 2000. This was a mural on one of the buildings. I don't believe it's there anymore, but it was there for quite some time. And it was included in the Front Porch News in 2000. I'm going to give this to Margaret, and Margaret can share.
Thank you. We'll put it with the
Was
rest.
that the very, on the corner of Monroe and Fourth?
You know what?
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's holding something
It was
up for
Ari
you.
Johnson's mural.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, she's got one going back to 1978.
Yeah. I was gonna say, we have a pending project that hasn't really had volunteer hours allocated to it, of archiving everything we have in storage. We have it all.
It's halfway done.
It's just all right, cool.
That's
Halfway
awesome.
done. So that's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is great. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you.
And then also some of the other really great projects in the Whitaker Community Council, because y'all have been incredibly active over the years. So we have a neighborhood matching grants program. It started in 2000. There was a brief period of time with the budget that we took a break. So it's been active for 20 years. And Whitaker Community Council has submitted 17 different neighborhood matching grants that they receive funding for. And the projects includes my personal favorite, I'll skip that one, is the tile sculpture, the family there on 3rd and Blair, Van Buren and Blair. That's one of my favorite neighborhood matching grant funded projects. And I'm hopeful, if it needs a little refreshment, that you all will consider submitting another neighborhood matching grant and update it if you feel so inclined. So that's one of my favorites, because that is totally the Whitaker community area. That was my favorite. There was also an urban sustainability project in 2000 that included putting plants and flowers in the right of way to make it a more inviting. You remember that one? Yep. There was funding to improve Skinner City Farm. For those who remember Skinner City Farm, the city cleaned out a bunch of area, and they had all this topsoil and dirt, and they just went right there in the Whitaker neighborhood. And the community went, why are you dumping all of this dirt here? We want to do something with it. So they created Skinner City Farm. And I'm not, is the farm still active? Do you know?
I don't think it's active, but I don't know if it's the same thing.
Okay. That's too bad.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, there was a
project.
Yes, a lot of work went into that project. One of my other favorites is in the Whitaker community, there were a number of distilleries, brew houses, wineries, lots of alcohol, which sometimes can bring some unsavory activities. And one of the neighborhood matching grants was the Whitaker Fermentation District Education Project, which included the creation, some of you all might remember these signs, the creation of these signs. They had coasters that were distributed in all of the wineries and brew houses. And there were posters that went up, and it was a full education project on respect yourself, respect the neighborhood. Please enjoy this neighborhood responsibly. And it was really targeted towards visitors and college students, and I wanted to present.
Thank you so much.
What year was that?
That fermentation, did I write that one down? 16, 17, 18, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, I wrote it down. It will look nice in an office. And then because Whitaker is so diverse and so inclusive, there was also a neighborhood matching grant for the Emerald Village project, Emerald Village Eugene, back in 2018. So I think that one was the year before, so 17. To support the Emerald Village in Eugene, the tiny homes that were built in their community area, which is also in, are you familiar with that project?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, yes. So kudos to Whitaker Community Council for all of your hard work. I mean, these grants, it's the only thing that we do is provide the applicants some seed money. The work is done by the volunteers in the neighborhood, and it requires a match. So if we provide $5,000, there is a $5,000 match that the neighborhood comes up with. And some of that is through volunteer hours. Some of that is through donations. It's kind of, most of the time it's a mix. So it's not just, here's some money, go do something great. It's, here's some money and now you're working for it. And the Whitaker Community Council has time and time again really worked hard for all of the projects and all the work that you do in your community. So for that, I really thank you. And then there's also, I mean, the whole other side here with the nonprofit work, all the work that you do, gathering grants and funding projects that the city that we could not possibly fund. We don't have the resources for it. But again, the Whitaker Community Council steps up and finds that funding and does that really hard work. So kudos to you all. And I wanted to take some time for questions in case anybody had any questions, but I did want to extend gratitude. So much gratitude to the Whitaker Community Council and all the work that you do, all the how dedicated you are to the community and how inclusive you are and how fun and funky the Whitaker neighborhood is. So thank you for that and happy 50th anniversary. So, yeah.
I think Cindy will be a speaker at our 50th anniversary as well.
Yeah. Looking forward
So
to it.
we're excited to see that.
So
Can we all work together?
Do we have any questions? Any
Yeah.
questions
Yes.
from?
So Travis has a question. I'll let him go. Go for it, Travis.
Well, I was just wondering, what is your position with the city?
I'm the actually the neighborhood and community liaison for the Office of Equity and Community Engagement.
Oh,
So
okay.
Our program area, the Office of Equity and Community Engagement, I probably could expand on that a little bit. So Equity and Community Engagement, we have 3 program areas. So the neighborhoods program is one area. We have Equity and Human Rights as another area. That person provides support to the Human Rights Commission. And then they also help out with our community engagement process with the city. And then the third area is community engagement, which includes language access, media and technology access, and considering how we can connect with communities that are traditionally marginalized or underrepresented. So if that's kind of their focus is the community engagement piece.
Yeah.
And we help
Well,
everybody.
I can tell you one piece that would help make our neighborhood less marginalized, and that would be increasing owner occupied homes. We are treading at 82% of renters versus 18% of a homeowner occupied homes. And that's gone downhill since the 90s neighborhood plan. We need help from the city turning our neighborhood into a neighborhood where people that want to live in the houses that they own instead of turning it into a rental driven neighborhood that is always playing catch up. I don't know if that's something you need to hear, but that's what I'm saying.
So Travis, that is helpful. Cindy is our first point of contact to the city. And so she can route things up from there. But that is a huge task that I don't think Cindy herself can handle.
I
So-
wish, my magic wand.
But we've heard you there.
Yes.
And we'll route that up any way possible. I appreciate your comment though.
And
Is there anyone else in the queue?
They're not that.
Janet?
Yeah,
please.
and I second that because home ownership is really important for people. If it's a commitment to the community, and when you have continual turnover, it becomes can become a very unstable community. So I would heartily endorse the city engage himself more to get home ownership and the low to affordable, truly affordable homes.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
not really, she wrote.
But I'm writing it down.
Yeah,
When you
that's
have
not
our
her
community
forte.
development department, part of planning and development, there's community development. And they would be the ones to explore some options.
They used to have wonderful gentrification loans to fix up these old houses, which I had too, in fact. That would help immensely as part of the down payment, whatever, but there's lots of.
Thank you, Janet. Thank you. Do we have any other questions in the room, statements? Anyone online want to say anything? All right. Cindy, thank you so much for. You have some big announcements?
Perfect. I would love to say.
Please.
And I just want to say, if any questions arise, if something comes up and you're like, what's the city doing about this? What's going on? Please, sorry, Margaret, I'm
It's
gonna.
all right. No, for me,
Please
it's
contact Margaret. She will email me. I will find an answer and get back to Margaret to share. So don't be shy. That's my job. That's what I'm here for. So thank you all.
And one thing I can say about Cindy without a doubt, while we have her here, is that she actually responds. She knows when I'm calling her on the phone, she picks it up. She finds out the information, she gets back to us. She is very active in what's happening. And she is a great resource. Go ahead, do you have a question?
Well, I mean, along those lines, actually, it was, I did write something down, and then I just jettisoned it because why? But, as a planner, I'm sure you're familiar with the process of, the inclusion process. And it seems to me that often that process is just a bunch of steps to go through. There are boxes to check, to say we did it, and then to do what you want. And, Peter Marcuso, who's a very great planner, talked about how the right to the city is often through gatekeepers, and gatekeepers will not accept that. So I don't know, can people in the community just directly go to you and talk to you?
They can. I would put them in touch with the appropriate person. My work is really supporting the neighborhood associations. But I hear what you're saying. And our office, that was one of the things with our city leadership right now and with mayor and council. They really, there have been a couple of planning processes where the community was really unsatisfied with the process. They didn't feel heard or included. They didn't appreciate the outcomes, all the things that you're saying. So the city is really interested in ensuring that moving forward, that we do include community. It doesn't necessarily mean that the community is going to get absolutely everything they want, because we have to follow state laws. We have to follow, you get it,
Yeah.
all the things. And public safety is, number one on the list. So there are some things that we have to do, that we are obligated to do. But as far as the community engagement, it's more than what those would think would be traditionally checking the box and, oh, we had these meetings and okay, we're done. Now we're close the books. We're going to do what we want. We're no longer doing that. We really want to hear from community and do what's right for community.
It seemed that the Human Rights Commission got folded into that, and I didn't know how that process then, or the grievance process were affected by that folding in. And could you speak a little bit?
Sure, you bet. Yeah, no, that's a really great question. I'm glad you asked that. It's budget. It really came down to budget. Back in 2008, we experienced a pretty significant budget shortfall that crunched us until about 2010. And the city was looking at ways to merged programs or prioritized programs. And the neighborhoods program and the human rights program were two programs that were very small and kind of buried in different, even completely, totally different areas of the organization. And the city wanted to keep those and keep funding for those. And they thought, and I support that, I believe it, that there was a sort of a nexus between the neighborhoods program and the human rights program. So they merged our programs, and it took a couple years for us to fully integrate. And now here we are with the 3 program areas, and all of us in our office, there are 5 of us in our office, we're hiring for a 6th. So all 6 of us, we all connect weekly, we all share each other's work, we all know what each other is doing, and we all support one another. So there is some overlap in all of our work. And the human rights program in itself is definitely part of my work, and my work is definitely part of their work. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we had the privilege of going and meeting them all.
Right.
So, which was great. She was the gal that walked us in. I think she does the human rights.
Yeah.
She was great. Elliot, did you have a question?
I was just on advice. Cindy's too kind by saying you can contact her directly. She does have a full-time job and does work with neighborhood associations.
Yes.
So try and route through us, or if you want to talk to the city directly, our city councilor, Lindsay Leach, would be, I know, it's quite an inbox, I'm sure.
Really,
So-
Sue, if there's somebody that I can connect you with that will help you, she'll tell me who that is.
Yeah.
And I'm more than happy to send you and them an email and say, here you go.
Yeah. 'Cause
I
Cindy will
just did that today for
Cindy
somebody.
will route us to the right department.
Correct.
I'd hate for you to just be.
Yes, no, thank you. Please
Thank
route
you,
to
Elliot.
Margaret and not to me. And as far as connecting with our elected officials, that is not something that I can do. That is something that you all can do. So I'm glad you brought that up.
So I don't know if you've all noticed, and this we'll talk about another time, but they're talking about changing our voting structure and lumping us in with the South Hills. And so the first thing I did was I emailed
Are
her
we the South Hill?
and I said, hey, who do I talk to about this? I need to know, because we in the Whitaker need the right information. So I read, it was in the weekly, but just the other day. But I am working on getting the information, and I will bring the information to the board.
All right.
So I will get the information and bring it to the board, and we'll talk about it.
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so Doriandra, you don't need an introduction.
I'll do.
Oh, Elliot,
I'll do just a 1 minute.
Sorry.
thing here. So,
I'm all excited about it.
cool. No, I gave up most of my time, but I'm just gonna take a minute of it. So we have entered the Eugene Bike Parade, the bike parade that happens in September 29th. The WCC has booked our slot, and we are going to do that, bring all our bikes and bike trailers and everything like that, throw on a bunch of lights. Stay tuned for updates on how we're gonna plan this, a sign-up sheet if you want to participate. But the first one, I just stumbled in on, I was on 5th Street, and just all of a sudden people started crowding. I was like, oh, let's see what happens. And I had such a good time watching that I wanted to participate and sign up the WCC, the biking neighborhood, for this parade. I think it'll be great. I'll keep you guys all tuned and put it in the newsletter for September. It's at the end of September, so if we release it for early September, great timing. It'll be top on people's minds. So that's the update. Watch out for that. Yes, exactly right. Yeah. So right at the end of September, so plenty of time to plan and put together a group.
Fantastic.
Will you give us rides in your trailer?
Yeah, I have a flatbed bike trailer that's like 6 feet long, so we can put benches and probably fit like 10 kids on that thing. So, yeah.
Oh, we can make a float.
We can make a float out of the lake. So that's why
That would be
I'm keeping
fun.
it hush hush.
Oh, we'll just look at that
Yeah.
newspaper and make a float.
Paper mache of all of our archives. That's it. That should be super fun. Watch out. in
Elliot,
September.
thank you very much for taking
Yeah.
that project on.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting, and I know the neighborhood will be excited. to
It's gonna be great.
participate as well.
Yeah, it's like 7 p.m. It's like right when, 7 p.m. it starts. So September 28th, 7 p.m. It's
What
a
day of the
Saturday.
week is that?
It's a Saturday.
Okay.
Hopefully that works. Fingers crossed. Okay. that's
Fantastic.
pretty
And
much
we are running a little bit ahead, which is great. So I would like to take a minute, if you don't mind. Jen, can you stand up? So Jen has been involved. She volunteered with the Whitaker Community Art Team and has been, Jen is an artist. You can see some of her art is actually hanging in here. And since we've been doing the art walk, she's been doing the social media as a volunteer. So if you follow the Whitaker Community Art Walk, the last Friday Art Walk online, that's her. If you go to the website, which we have, it was built, but she's now maintaining it. And we are very lucky and very pleased to say that she was just hired by the Whitaker Community Council. So she will now be working, doing our social media, updating our website, and comes with a whole bag of stuff that we don't know how to do or have the time to do because we're volunteers. So Jen, welcome. Really excited to have you. Do you have anything you want to say?
I was not prepared to speak, but I'm very excited to be a part of a group doing such great things for the community. So
Fantastic. All right. All right. So the woman who needs no introduction, our executive director, Doriandra, the floor is yours.
Okay.
I'm sorry. No, you're okay.
Okay. We have excellent news. In 2021, the Oregon legislator created some groundbreaking legislation to achieve healthy home standards for low-income households having below 80% AMI.
Can everybody hear her online?
And for communities impacted by environmental justice factors. So this was House Bill 22842, and it empowered the Oregon Health Authority, which is one of our grant partners that we've had since 2020 during the pandemic, to work through pass-through grants for Oregon community-based organizations and nonprofits like ourselves. And these funds were going to be very focused on repair and rehabilitation of dwellings to address climate change and environmental justice issues, hazards, to ensure accessible homes for disabled residents, and to make overall repairs to ensure safe and healthy homes. So this seemed like an incredible fit for us because when I looked at kind of the house numbers, our demographics, how this little beautiful chunk of Eugene was built, more than 28% of the homes were built before 1942. And then the other significant giant leap was before the 70s. So these are very old, precious homes, and they're very vulnerable to all the things that are happening. So it seemed like a great fit, and they accepted my proposal. So we now will be awarded $750,000 over a course of 3 years. So we have a 36-month biennium to work with. This is a huge game changer in that we'll be able to address 80 homes, and we'll be finding those homes through an equitable lens of applications and interviews. We'll have a definite rubric that helps determine how these all are allocated. It's going to enable us to give a Whitaker-based contractor here, a general contractor that's licensed, this work, as well as one more that's out of the Whitaker, but is very passionate about the work. There was a really good question last night, or point, well, given how hard it is to get home repairs, like once we get into this, how do they stick with us? And I spent a lot of time with this, really interviewing different general contractor companies that were, kind of interested, but the two that have committed to working with us are very passionate about this neighborhood and understand the intrinsic value of the place and our homeowners and understand. So I'm really excited with two incredible companies, Wedge Construction, they are Dave Hurd, and then we also have Derek Davidson. So fabulous people, and they're really excited. And in those initial kind of like, how will we do this? You know, the parts of the grant were very specific. We were able to choose the things that would best be suitable and for these individual, their skills, their work that they do. So the list is long, and but we can think about it as divided into two major goal areas. And the first one is to maximize energy efficiency. So 30 individual homes will receive either a combination of and new HVAC systems that are top of the line that will reduce energy costs over the years significantly, and or they will receive all new doors and windows, new ceilings, so that, you know, ceiling insulations, the things that like keep the heat, the cold in or out as you need it. So that is one target goal. The second one is to improve the health of residents. So that's being allocated down into 50 homes, a total of 50. 10 of those will be full ADA upgrades. So when we think of folks that need a wheelchair access into their house and struggle, we'll be doing lovely ramps into homes, widening doors, doing grab bars, a full package that ensures that seniors can stay in their homes and be comfortable and not have to live elsewhere to achieve that ease of movement. Let's see, we'll be moving on to another 10 that will have a full set of mold and allergen remediation projects. And these can be super extensive because we're Oregonians, so mold is, it's intense. There'll be another subsection that will be working to focus on fire safety. So it will be working on new alarms and also to allergen remediation, a ton of those great air purifiers. So this is a massive project. Among other qualities and things that we will be able to gain from this, we'll also be able to increase our WCC staff and our capacity. We'll need a person, a program coordinator, to do the intakes of these progresses, reports. We'll be able to expand our WCC board training, which will be really nice to kind of get deep dive into collaboration and just more expansion of what we can do well. The best thing so far, well, something I'm super excited about is from meeting with UG Mission the other day and talking to their Life Change program coordinators. That's an amazing program they have where folks that have had addiction and recidivism problems, they're coming into a formatted unit of community service. And so it seems like an incredible way to pair with them. So they will start their October term and they'll have a sequence where as a homeowner is ready to receive the repairs that will bring them, in advance, we'll have a team from UG Mission that will come out and address what has to happen. So for instance, if we're going to be tearing out all the floors in a place to put new flooring, that team will be on hand to move furniture, and they'll also be kind of taking clear assessments about what the needs of the individuals in the home are. Sometimes people have special needs and there's pets or there's people with hearing issues. So this will be a really neat holistic way that they can work in advance so that our contractors will come in and just do the work and make it speedy and efficient. So yeah, excellent thing. We're super excited and we can't wait to dive in. Yay.
Can we ask a couple questions about that? Yeah. Woo-hoo. So, how are you going to determine who gets the repairs and who doesn't?
Great question. So back in our program where we were using ORAP grants, grant funds, also from Oregon Health Authority.
Was this when we help people with their rent? Or
Exactly. This was the Housing as Healthcare program, and HUD has a certain set of parameters and equity-based kind of rubrics and whatnot that we were able to use so that we could assess what the person's needs were and their eligibility, and then make an educated decision and then move that forward. So I'll be taking some of those same program elements that I made for Housing as Healthcare and bringing them over to this Healthy Homes program. And we'll have a lot of guidance from our grantors. They have incredible grant cohort meetings and stuff. So we'll be able to really slowly and carefully make sure that we are hitting it fairly and well. What?
Renters?
Renters, yes, this program applies to renters as well. It is is for dwellings, rental dwellings, or homeowners. So there'll be a careful process there to ensure that if we go in and we make these repairs for a renter, that the landlord then is not going to be in a position to, oh, great, now it's upgraded and I'm going to kick you out and now I'm going to charge 4,000. So that we'll be using a careful process that I did with Housing is Healthcare before. It's a lot of conversations, sometimes a memorandum of understanding. And again, this grant allows us to have expanded resources with our WCC lawyer. So we'll be able to really check these balances and have very clear legal understandings.
Question about what the borders of what's considered a Whitaker is at this time. I know for the Art Walk, we're like pushing back towards beyond the bridge at this point. Where is the cutoff there between downtown and Whitaker?
Yeah, it's a very contentious question. Yeah, so let's see, it's on the city website, which is the kind of clearest definition. So maybe I can pull that up and read it to you. It's basically the other side of Washington Jefferson Park. So it's Lawrence.
Well, it goes to the Oregon Wine Lab.
Why not?
Oregon
Yeah,
Wine.
it goes to the wine
which is
lab,
on
but then
Oregon
it goes
Street.
back around, goes from the Rose Garden to Skinner's Butte, and it goes to this side of Seventh from Chambers to,
Chambers to pass. Yeah, yeah, River Road, it's just kind of this whole thing, but the best, if you want to see the map and look at it best, if you go to the Neighborhood Association website, you'll see a really nice page about that. It helps you find, yeah.
So in talking about the boundary, would that boundary be the same as what Ward 7 is identified as, or is Whitaker in and of itself? So what you're describing is what they call Whitaker.
Just Whitaker.
It's the neighborhood
Whitaker.
association boundary.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Ward 7 does,
no, it's just the Whitaker.
Just.
okay,
Yeah.
so, but no, you're misunderstanding.
And
The
if you go
Ward
to the,
7 doesn't overlay Ward 7.
we're in Ward 7, but there's a lot more to Ward 7 than just the Whitaker.
Yes.
So this program
Yes.
does not go outside of the Whitaker boundaries. If you
Yes.
go to the Eugene
Yes.
city website and look up neighborhood associations, whatever the Whitaker is, that's where our
So
boundaries
where
are.
do you go to get that mapping, if you will, to know?
You go to the Oregon, to the city of Eugene neighborhood association website.
So what, you contact Cindy?
No, you just look it up online. Go to
Oh.
Google and put the city of Eugene neighborhood association. It'll pop right up.
Okay.
You can type in
Okay.
on the search thing, just Whitaker. and it'll-
What'd you say? You'll send it to
Okay, got
her?
it.
I was gonna say, Google Maps is also helpful. If you just type Whitaker, it gives our neighborhood boundary.
Oh, it does. It's that simple.
So
Yeah.
that's simple. It's the same as
Okay.
our actual boundary. So
Okay. Thank
Google
you.
actually got it right.
Yeah,
So-
okay.
So Travis is next in your question queue. Go ahead, Travis, if you're ready.
Hi, so I have a couple of questions. One of my questions is what, in the past when you use the, what is is it a MOU?
Yeah, memorandum of understanding, yes.
Yeah, and I think eWeb or some other entity does those for that situation with where a tenant applies to a grant based on their income need. I'm wondering in the past with your grants, what was the MOU? Was it a percentage, a restriction on percentage of rent raise, or was it a actual number of years, or what are you thinking there?
Great question, right? So for the Housing is Healthcare program, I think I dove into this last night. What we were finding is the majority of renters are renting from a monopoly of about 3 property management companies. So what was created was a simple standard agreement based on the strength of the grant. And this is an interesting question because the timeline may be different, or we may be able to stretch it out, but the way that the Housing is Healthcare program worked, they were promising no less than a year of maintaining residency. So this is a great question, and I will really dive into it with the Healthy Homes grant base to see if there's new language that we can use to make that longer, which would be really powerful and effective. So thank you.
Okay, and then I've actually got kind of a question tied to that. Thanks, and I do think that that's something good to think about. I believe that property management companies wouldn't be able to make any sort of long-term commitment without contacting a property owner anyway. So at some level, the property owner will be involved, whether or not it's managed privately or through a private management company. But my second question actually is about Section 8 tenants. I'm wondering if there's a streamlined process, if you have any experience working with Homes for Good, for example, I know that helps the process for people to income qualify when they've already submitted all of their financials to a public agent or to I guess, are they a public agent? They're working for the federal government, basically, the Homes for Good is. Do you have any experience working with a voucher program like that?
Yeah, actually, in the eligibility process that I did with those people that were applying for rental assistance, that was a quick, easy parameter. Like it was immediate proof that would just push the process forward. So I think that's does that answer your question?
Totally. Yeah, totally. I actually, that's exactly what I was asking, is if it's helpful, if it's helpful to have that kind of I mean, I think really any sort of documentation, whether you get food assistance or whatnot, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's right. It'll be that's, I think, if I recall, that was the second question on my intake forms for renters. Do you remember, Thea? You saw some of that. Yeah, there was like a whole section of eligibility, and that was the first thing. Are you on any other type of assistance? And if so, we just need proof of that, and then that quickly just pushed them right forward into the starting gate. So
It gives them a higher score on the rubric.
Right, and then that's right. Thea was so helpful to suggest a rubric, which then we toggled with it as we went along, because we found that sometimes it had to change. And one of the things that was frustrating with that Housing is Healthcare was that, we as a board and as a group have really been passionate about only supporting Bilson and Whitaker, but then the news would spread, and then sometimes we didn't have people that were from Whitaker, and so in the end we were able to use every penny of that $235,000 and support folks in our Bethel communities, Train Song, so we kept completely tight, as close as we could, but we spread the funds and everybody stayed in their house. So that was a huge program, and that may happen with this too. Again, we may find that happen again, and we'll have to make that choice as we go. But
if you ever have the need for helpful outreach, I can make sure to let people know that is coming. I know everybody in our community knows somebody that lives in our community that is struggling, that has either a home they've owned for a long time that they're just kind of getting by with their old wood windows and putting plastic up in the wintertime with staples. But I think if you need help with the engagement, I think that you guys do a good job with your media, and I think you can do it. But if you need help, I'd be happy to spread the word.
You know what, Travis, we just need you to keep coming to those meetings. And you'll be there when Durandra needs you.
Yeah, thank you.
And those are great meetings for you to come and get involved in. Elliot, I think you had a question?
Nice. Question and kind of a comment. So, the Housing for Healthcare memorandum was fairly short because we were doing cash payment in lieu of rent. So we were paying tenants rents while they were going through a pandemic. That was awful. So we had to keep that timeline fairly short just to hedge if we stop paying, what happens there. So what I ask is, from what I'm hearing from Travis, I think we should, so Doriander and I kind of co-write the agendas for our subcommittee, our Health and Public Safety Committee. And this is where all this is kind of built and designed. So I welcome everybody to join that meeting. It's the Tuesday before this one. So it was yesterday where we got to hear the news, go through it all. Bring documents, MOUs, memorandums of understanding to that meeting, and we can go through it and pick out lines we like and kind of draft our own, float it to our lawyer and see what is legal, what's not, what can float. And we can draft our own that was built by the community with the legal kind of examples we want and protections we want in there. Because with basically paying for a fixed asset that somebody else owns for the benefit of the tenant, it's important to have those protections in there long-term because it's a long-term asset.
Yes.
So that's my only comment there. Participate in those committee meetings. These are more of announcements, and then we actually get to participate and define where these grants go and implemented during those committee meetings. So welcome to see you all there.
Right. So what happens is we have a committee meeting. They say, okay, great, let's do this. They bring it back to the board and then the board votes on it, which is great. And it works really well. And one of my goals when I became the chair was that I wanted to get as much community engagement as I possibly could, to have people that don't have time to be on the board, that don't want to be on the Whitaker Community Council, all of that, but to come and still participate and to be involved in any committee, whatever it is. That's when we did when I redid the art team. I mean, I just went out and found 5 people. And I said, hey, do you want to do this? And they said, yes. And now we have the Whitaker Community Art Team back together, and the art walk is doing great. Same thing. So please, we encourage everyone. And if there's something that you want to do that you're passionate about, just bring it to someone's attention. And we want to get neighborhood involvement. The more neighborhood involvement we have, the more voices that we have, the better that will be. Are there any more questions regarding this grant?
Yeah, so Travis has a follow-up question.
It's a kind of follow-up comment about that, the MOU idea. I think that if it's just the tenant that qualifies, in other words, the homeowner wouldn't qualify, but the tenant is the one signing up. You can check with your lawyer, but I would think that it should be more than a year commitment to keep the tenant housed. I think a year is kind of a drop in the bucket for what could end up being, chunks of $10,000 investments from WCC.
Agreed.
And about
and then the other piece is that the percentage restriction thing. I don't know if you guys have done that before in terms of rent raise increase, but that could get kind of tricky to follow. If a landlord kept someone on for a year and promised not to raise the rent 3%, they get a new tenant, and then you gotta investigate to see what they, that sounds like a mess. I would make a commitment, and I would make it more than a year.
Thank you. I agree. The steps to go through all of this, the aggregate demographic reporting, all of this, every step that happens in this grant will go back to legislative consideration. And it's a real placemaking moment in terms of changing the way that we view housing. So thank you, Travis. I completely agree, and we'll do our best to make that happen. You know, I think when I think about all my friends that live in Whitaker and people I know on this board and stuff, so many of them are homeowners, and they're in their house and they're doing their thing, and because the house is antiquated because of the beautiful history here, those are kind of the people I see as needing that support, and whether they have renters in it or not, it's going to be for the benefit and the complete health of the neighborhood as a whole. So it's just a great thing. So
Great job.
Yeah.
I'm really.
fantastic. That's a big one.
All right.
Okay.
Next.
Let's see. So now we are officially juggling 5 grants, which is intense. So
How many?
5. Yep. So I'm so grateful. We've got Jen and we have our bookkeeper, Vicki Lynn. We'll all get to meet her. She'll be coming to our 50th anniversary. So we'll be expanding our staff and we can do this. So going down the quick list of the other grants, just quick updates. When we thought about that 82% of our Whitaker residents are renters. So we went after this community health improvement plan, which was tied to Lane County Public Health planning of how to make better, healthier spaces for communities. And we are working on the Healthy Together Oregon grant. And that's the program that we chose for that is the small bucket gardening. So to date now, we've given away over 180 veggie starts. They were all super cute little baby plants. And we've partnered with Backyard Farmer to get, I can tell you how my back feels like it was tons of soil and these fabulous buckets, which Thea drilled many holes in and just was fabulous in getting this started. She wrote all the curriculum for it. So thank you, Thea, major work there. That grant is going to be coming to an end soon, so we'll be wrapping that up. Then our disaster resiliency one, which we've been running for quite some time now, it's still going strong, and this is really neat that all these other grants are kind of braided into it, and it's all improving the community together. So the last one we have to really just chat with quickly, I think everyone knows already, but the AARP grant, which was an enhancing digital connectivity for 50 plus folks. And that one's coming along really nicely. Look for some social media info about our event, which will be at the Campbell Senior Center. And Julie, is it October 5 or 10? 5, thank you. My numbers are flipping. Where we'll be giving out some cell phone battery chargers. There'll be a pre-registration for that. So if you're 50 plus, you'll be able to get this really snazzy thing, which you just put your phone on and it will keep you going when there's power in Whitaker. We're also working with Emerald Broadband and have secured locations at Spiller Gardens and also at Eugene Mission. So you'll be able to walk, hopefully get there through, hopefully put your ice tracks on and get to one of these locations if our area loses power. So we're really trying to bolster that digital connectivity piece so that next time we have another one.
And what are those?
disasters.
Starlinks?
Yeah, there'll be one Starlink and then the other 2 are fiber optic hubs that are housed in a little doghouse unit that's high up on a pole, so it's free from vandalism. And it'll be battery packed for about 5 to 7 days. So I imagine if that runs out and we still don't have power, I bet you those fabulous fellows at Emerald will climb up the pole and fix it. So we'll have some reliable internet going on. And that's, when we did we all survived that big ice storm. The data impact survey that I put out, it was so weird because when you looked at all the tracking of the data, the number one problem was connectivity. People just didn't know what the heck was going on. So I hope that this really fixes that for everyone. And lastly, we need volunteers. We need help. If you've got a minute, a day, a passion, please write to me or Margaret at the Whitaker Community Council. with all this starting to happen and us juggling 5 grants, we need support, and it's so nice to have board members come out and speak to community and get to know people, and they know us, and it's just so great. So if anybody has time, please let us know. Julie, do you have enough volunteers yet for the 24th anniversary?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think the last time we looked, that little sign up form was pretty scant. So that's an easy one. It's just a couple hours split up
You
in.
mean our 50th anniversary?
Yeah, did I say that?
Okay.
Did I say
You said
24th?
24th.
I'm
It's
thinking
okay.
about August 24th. Yeah.
Right.
That's when the 50th is.
Yeah, August 24th. Yeah, I have, you can see I have too many numbers in my head. So yeah, that'll be a fun one, and there's a little survey going around. Join us. It's gonna be a great party.
So are there any more questions for Doriandra? Doriandra, I mean. Fantastic. And just a real quick announcement, something that came up. So we were actually contacted by Hop Valley. And they want to do a fundraiser for us, over the winter, a big one. I don't know what exactly, but they also, I got an email and said, hey, Margaret, because we worked with him on the art walk, Alex, and he said, hey, we put you on the calendar for September 12th, and we want to give you $1 for every beverage that we sell. You're showing up, right? So there's an email out there. So please, we need volunteers for that as well. We just did one in Oakshire. I'm not sure how much money we got yet. Megan will let us know as soon as it's done. But did you have a question?
Yeah, do you help booking entertainment for that?
Well, we're working on that. And the thing is that, so we had a band that when we did it at Oakshire, they actually played for tips and played for free. And we happen to have someone on the board who ran music in the park for 2 years with no money and just did it on pure tips.
So
So
there's no budget for it.
I'm sorry?
There's no budget for it.
No, this is just a fundraiser for us to be able to make some money for our neighborhood association, not for the nonprofit side. So.
Possible hot valve might be interested in chipping in somehow, but
Yeah, I asked them and they said, if you have someone that you want to bring, we're happy to do that, but let us know.
We're open to all recommendations.
Yes, but we do have someone that's working on that at the moment, so we'll see what happens.
yeah, let me know if you need help.
Thank you. Julie Bowman. Thank you very much.
Okay, so speaking of the 50th anniversary celebration, that is happening at Scobert Gardens Park. It's the finale to our Art in the Parks grant. So we were granted from the city funds to pay our musicians. It's been so great to go to these people who have played for free, played for tips, and say, guess what, I have money this year. We've also used some of those funds to buy some infrastructure, I guess, things that I've been bringing to the park, like extension cords and power strips. That bamboo mat is mine. I don't know if we're going to replace that or not, but what we did do is buy a sound system. So we now have a microphone and a big speaker to make announcements, and we'll be using that at the 50th anniversary. Tomorrow night is the final concert for Thursday Night in the Park at Samba Ja. That will be from 7 to 8:30, and they are always amazing. We have had record attendance. Every show this year has had about 50 people at it, which is enormous. Last summer, I had 9 people at Chico Schwa, and I brought 6 of them. So this shows you what the publicity from the city is doing for us. We had 80 people last year for Samba Ja, so I'm really excited to see how many people turn out for it with more publicity. The 50th, this is a really big event, and I could use a lot of help. People, you could just show up. If the weather is nice on the 24th and you feel like coming,
come down to the park. We're gonna have yard games. You have a question?
I'm not familiar with Silver Gardens.
Scobert Gardens.
Oh, Silver.
Yes, I'm sorry if I said that wrong. So at Fourth and Blair, across from
Yeah, sure.
the old tiny town. So we're gonna have yard games set up, cornhole, bocce, washer toss, ladder ball. Anybody, pardon?
Fundraiser.
It is gonna be a fundraiser. We're gonna have kids games. So there's water balloon toss and red light, green light, and the egg race. So I could use people to help facilitate those kid games. Anybody who wanted to come and hang out for a little bit. I could use people to hand out prizes. We're gonna have stickers. We're gonna have temporary tattoos. I don't know what else. We're gonna have water and sunscreen. What?
Gift cards.
Gift cards. We're gonna have a raffle every hour, just about,
Every hour, yeah.
for the adults. Runs. Is
We
that
have Friends, we have Backyard Farmer, we have, Bounce Elevation Gym,
Throwing card.
Rowan Park, right? Davis Northwest Barbecue Smokehouse. Davis Northwest Smokehouse is just opening in the tiny tavern space, and they're holding a fundraiser for us. On that date, they're gonna donate 15% of their proceeds, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
To us. So that's huge. We have music, from 12 to 2. Rob Tobias and his group Maya Love will be doing a Beatles tribute set. So I'm really excited about that. We're gonna have speakers. Senator James Manning will be joining us. Kitty Piercy will be talking about her time in the WIT. Sam Hahn, thank you. Sam Hahn, who was WCC chair for many years, is gonna come and talk. And Cindy's gonna come and talk about her experience with us. We're gonna close it out with some more music. I have Rob early. Peter Wild is gonna close us out. Peter does Americana. He was a fixture of the neighborhood forever, at least seems like to me. I think he lives in Oak Ridge now, but he still plays around town. So Peter and his buddies are gonna close us out. We're gonna have tabling from the city. WCC is gonna be there tabling, I think with some of these old newsletters. So board members, I could really use your presence, even if it's just for a little while. I am probably gonna be in the park from 10:30 until 8, so that's gonna be a thing. But if anybody who can show up for a couple hours to do any of those things, play games, hand out sunscreen, work the table, I would love help. And our grant is funded for next year as well. So we have guaranteed funds next year, and we hope to buy a little bit more infrastructure. We use a lot of money for advertising, and the majority, more than half of the money is going to pay the bands. But next year I hope to buy some yard games so that I'm not schlepping all mine down to the park. I don't mind sharing with y'all, but it'd be nice for WCC to have its own yard games. Anyway, questions about that event or the series or the grant?
I remind us how long you've been doing this. So
I started helping Ellen with Friends of Scobert Gardens when I moved to the WIT in 2004. And she did an amazing thing. If you've been here, I know Soncine probably remember. She funded that. Yeah, you guys, exactly. She funded that with a plant sale. And Ellen went around to nurseries and got them to donate hundreds of plants. And then people brought them to the park and she helped organize them. And she was there to advise people about what might grow for them. And we sold them, and it was very successful. I don't know the details of the financials, but that was really successful. You have a question?
This is not for this year, but maybe for next summer. I just noticed that the music in the park at Schoberg is the same night as music at the night at Emerald Park up there. Have you considered doing them on different nights?
Well, we were on Wednesday nights forever, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And this year we moved to Thursdays so that I could be here. And so that board members would have a better chance to attend on Thursdays because the August Wednesday meetings conflict. It's hard to pick a day. Tuesdays are part of the issue is our longtime forever opener, Brian Cutian. I believe as long as the series has happened, 25 years or more, Brian has opened the series the week after Country Fair. He doesn't want to come on Tuesday because Country Fair for people who camp out there runs until Monday. I don't want to do the concerts on Friday. So it's always a conflict. And you're right, Emerald has their series on Thursdays. I got started back helping with this when Sue Barnhart approached me in 2022. She's the person I think who single-handedly kept it going through COVID. I believe she went down there with a 6-foot pole and walked around saying, move away to ensure proper spacing. So in 22, I forget how we got to talking about it, but she asked me if I would help. And that year I designed the flyers and I printed them with my own money. And we asked people to play for free. And then Margaret said, hey, you're doing this thing. Maybe it should be under the WCC's auspice and we'll pay for your printing. I was like, cool, I don't need to pay for printing. And then we got the grant this year. So that's how I got going on it. And I'm really excited about it. It's my favorite thing. It's why I'm here at the board.
All right. So good. We're running ahead of schedule. A couple things. So what I am hearing is the art walk is going extremely well, just so that you all know. We did get some funding from the city this year regarding the art walk, so we were able to do posters. We have done a lot of advertising as far as social media and all of that, and everyone is loving the art walk. It's getting a lot of people, a lot of participation, and it seems to be growing. We will have, starting this month, a tour, which it's the last Friday art walk, and there will be a tour, and it will be posted online. And the gal who owns Eugene Eats actually is a bit of a historian of the Whitaker, and so she does a free tour, and she will map out and take people to certain areas and go look at art. And she starts at 5, but we'll have that posted online when she gets us the map, once we have everything confirmed. Other than that, like I said, the Hop Valley, and I think we're good. Just so that we're clear, you know, this at our board meeting, we will be talking about some of the things that we talked about today, and we'll figure out, you know, where to go from here. So, Brianda, great job. Thank you very much. Elliot, do you have anything else?
No, nothing prepared.
Brianda, are you good?
Nope, just thank you all. It's a great meeting. Thank you, Cindy.
Fantastic. Yes, Cindy, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate you very much.
Yeah,
So-
cheers, yeah.
Travis raised and Thea raised, so
Okay, yes, please.
go ahead, Travis, and then Thea.
I'm sorry, I never took the hand down.
Oh, you never put it down.
Thea? Thea?
So I want to say thank you, Cindy, for all that work on those grants. I am happy to send the board an email with some of the things I shared if you'd like it. Elliot, I know I put in the chat that the Parks and Open Space has been coming to the WCC meetings for more than 10 years to hear about Scoberg Gardens. So in the general meeting notes, sorry, I'm getting feedback. In the general meeting notes, and in some of the board meeting notes, Emily Profit's been coming through Sam Hahn, Stacy, Chris Gadsby, coming and hearing about Scoberg Gardens. So this hasn't been a new thing. And so if you need me to dig through some notes, I can see if I can find them, but I think Emily has them all because I did bring up the concerns people had earlier about concrete and trees. And she said she was going to look at her notes. So if you have questions about that, please let me know. Okay.
Yeah, and just to touch on that, the city's been working on Scoberg Gardens since 2017 with you know, it's a matter of interpretation. Some people feel differently about it, but they have done several surveys. They have had meetings. Right here at the Hybrid, they had meetings. They have been talking to people. I did have a conversation last week, and they're still going through the notes from when they had the tour. And I was told that, you know, they are taking all of those notes into account, that they are cutting back on the concrete, that they are making some changes based on what the community really wants. So, well, you know, we can laugh about it, but she keeps coming back here. We could have just had the same park the whole time and it could just be what it is. It's been almost 10 years that she's been coming and working on that, probably seven years. And it got dropped in COVID and then she came back again. And she's like, hey, let's finish this. Let's see what everybody wants. So they're not done. Just so that we're clear, and anyone that is listening or anyone that watches this later, there have been no decisions made about what they're doing. Everything has just been a proposal. I talked to somebody the other day and they told me, oh no, somebody thinks that that's it. What they've made is what they're doing. I just had a conversation the other day because I want the facts. I don't want the, you know, all the hubbub. I want to see what really is going on. And that's what we have to base that's what we have to base ourselves on, is what they're really doing. And, you know, there's a lot of neighbors and a lot of neighbors have a lot of opinions. And it's not an easy thing to take everyone into mind and to take everyone into consideration. And part of being the WCC, part of being any community council within the city of Eugene, is that you present the facts to the neighborhood and then let the neighborhood make their own choice. And, you know, that's what I'm trying to do. And we're not going to please everyone. No one is. But I really am trying to get the facts, and there is an overwhelming amount of people that have the same ideas about certain things. So we'll just, you know, we'll see what I can get before the meeting next week. And the meeting, our board meeting, is a public meeting. You are welcome to come. The first 10 minutes, we do public comment, and then at 10 minutes, it gets cut off. We ask for people not to talk who are not on the board or on a committee or doing a project within the board, because we just talk as a board and we vote and we go through the issues. But it is open to the public. People are more than welcome to come and watch and listen to what we have to say. So we're really doing our best. You know, it's a big job, especially when you have so many people wanting so many different things. But amazingly, we have so many great things going on as well, and we do have reasons to celebrate.
So we do have Travis that has another question, and maybe we'll end it off there.
I just had a question about the process of trying to figure out what the neighbors want. I noticed around the neighborhood and online that there was a petition being circulated by a couple of Whitaker I believe they were Whitaker residents, trying to petition basically their point of view. And I'm concerned that it wasn't really targeting the Whitaker community's input. It was a citywide.
You know, we can't really. So I've done a really deep dive in the past few weeks as far as what we can do and what we can't, and what we can talk about. And when you brought up political issues earlier, and when it becomes political, and when it's a lobbying idea, and when it's endorsing something, and, you know, there are so many gray areas. Chris Gatsby taught me, and people could say a lot of things about Chris Gatsby, but Chris Gatsby taught me, he's like, you bring the opinions, you show the people the opinions, and then you let them make up their own minds. You provide the platform for people to do that.
Sure. Yeah, I guess my
Yeah,
question.
and just, you know, there are some things that we could, where it comes close, we could lose our nonprofit status.
Well, so I had said it earlier, and I think that it is important to distinguish what you're. I
Thank you
believe that.
for coming. We hope
Hello?
to see you again.
We hear you, Travis. Sorry.
I believe that actually it's within your right as a neighborhood organization to absolutely opine and to develop political opinions. You can't
No, not as long as we're a nonprofit.
you
It's
can't
not.
you can't be partisan. You can be political. Everything is political.
We can spend up to 20% of our time max.
So Travis,
As far as being in any kind of lobbying, but that's
so my question isn't really about that. My question was, I noticed that there was a petition circulating online, and
that wasn't us.
No, I know that I don't know exactly who it was, but I know that it wasn't the WCC. They didn't represent that they were the WCC. So that's not what my question is. My question is, when it comes to gathering what the public thinks, how do we make sure that this opinion that the public's bringing isn't tainted by the broader community?
Well, that's what the city's doing.
So Travis, I hear what you're saying. So this whole kind of the board is very split on how we want to conduct ourselves as a nonprofit and also as a neighborhood association that is inherently political. You know, it's kind of duopoly here. So I hear what you're saying, and the petition, the change petition, is kind of a sensitive subject because it was set up, from what I understand, from people's board doing their own thing outside of the WCC. So I'm sorry for being coy about it. We haven't decided what position we want to take as a board and as a council. So
thank you for clarifying. Thank you for clarifying that. My only question at this point now is, are you guys different than other neighborhood organizations in that you are a neighborhood organization and you have a nonprofit status?
Yes, there's only three. There's only, out of 24 neighborhood associations, only 3 of us have a nonprofit status, and it does change things for us.
Okay, so that as a member of the WCC, a neighborhood constituent, that poses a serious problem for me. I will tell you that I do have a problem with that. I think that one function of a neighborhood organization is to not be partisan. I'm not talking about say go so and so or go so and so.
What you mean, and something that people have to remember, and that they're not considering, is that this board was elected in April. That's it. We basically have started over. We spent a whole year rebuilding the board. When Ian left, things kind of went to the wayside. We spent a year after the previous chair rebuilding the board, which we're still doing that.
I get it.
Board was elected in April, and we've really only met 2 times. We had an ice storm or something happened one night and we couldn't have a board meeting, and we took July off. So we haven't had any time to sit down and talk about where we stand and what we're doing.
Okay, well then I'm just going to convey as a member and as a very concerned citizen of the Whitaker, I will let you know that I think that you guys do need to spend some time really understanding what your percentage of political can be and maximize that, because that is your job as a neighborhood organization, is to vouch for your neighborhood, and a lot of times that's political 70% of the time.
Yeah, Travis, I've heard you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you very much, Travis. All right, are there any more questions? Fantastic, great job.
Margaret,
Yes,
It's really hard when the mics are on there because we pick up all the background noise, so it's hard to hear what's going on when a speaker is speaking on this end.
you mean other mic, you mean people in the, on Google? Is everyone on mute?
In your room, when your mic is on and a speaker is speaking online, it's hard to hear.
Oh, I don't have a mic.
In the future, I brought 2 of these. We can go from using the wide area mic that picks up every sound in the room to just using 2 of these microphones. And that might reduce, if we can give that a go next time.
Yeah, it's just picking up the background, the people speaking in the background, and then you're cutting out every other word, Elliot. So I got a lot of your stuff, but not all of it. But I do really want the board to understand that there is a 10-year history of Parks and Open Space coming to talk to the community, that this just didn't start last year. So that you know that, okay?
Perfect. All right.
All right. Hey, have a good night. Thanks, everybody. And Elliot, please send me an email.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
I'm just having some fun with my girlfriends. You aren't there to have fun, you black asshole.
What?
Somebody
got
stuff.
Planning on moving out, but I hadn't noticed, but all my aunts and uncles that I visit, they all have it, dude. It's almost like I was gonna do it anyway, but after seeing my relatives, my aunts and uncles' homes, I had to do it now. And I got this poster. Okay, this one, just like my other poster. This one is a lot bigger than the one I had in my old room. The one in my old room was like 24 by 36, and this one is 50 by 36. I think it's 54 by 36. Dude, this thing is huge. These 2 posters, when I first, I didn't think they were gonna fit, dude. Maybe if these 2 fucking paintings were right there, but I actually got them to fit, dude. Barely. And then we have this trap poster. I got that when I went to see them at the Lava Cantina in like Irving. Okay, that was the right side. The couch. Or I use it like as a piece of furniture to put my shit in, like a sweater, some paper. Here's like my lunchbox, some Kleenex, the fucking phone. I don't even know if it works, dude. Okay, look, the sticker right there.